What is up, everybody? Liam Murphy back with Kyle Dvorchak. Kyle, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. My tea's still a little hot. I put a little bit too much cream in it. But can't complain.
All right. We're here today to break down Week 11 DFS. I should mention before we break it down, I guess how Kyle and I first got connected, because the universe connects people. I feel like I first got in connection with Kyle after he shipped $250K in baseball, and this was before the 2021 best ball season. And I think I reached out, and you were in the high stakes DFS streets, and then fate would have it, I shipped Best Ball Mania 2, and I think
it was the 555s. I don't even think they had 2120s or whatever they were in DK best ball.
Yeah.
And the tickets for those were kind of easy to scoop. They'd overlay in different sports, some NBA Showdown would have contests not filling that paid out the 555 tickets or whatever. So I had a bunch of those, and it wasn't going to fill. It almost filled. You got a little bit of rake back on it.
Yeah, you grind a lot of the obscure showdowns to get tickets and whatnot. How about you fill in the people how's a DFS season been going for you so far?
Yeah, I hate it because the season never ends. It turns out when you commit to just grinding overlay, every sport has overlay at some time. And this year I've been grinding FanDuel a lot harder. So it's really should sort of focus on trying to take some time off at some point. But it feels like anytime you're not on the fattest upswing, you're really oh man, I gotta get back in the streets. Today could be the day, which is very degenerate and bad way of thinking.
I'm a degen as well, but how have you been getting your teeth kicked in by the chalk donks on DK? I have. I've been absolutely slayed. Last week I had 20 Christian Watson teams. Doesn't matter. Didn't have him with Fields. RIP. How's your season been going? DFS wise, and then best ball wise, if you put in any volume over there.
Best ball, I don't.
Do you check in week to week?
No, dude, I don't check in week to week.
I can't sweat. I check my high stakes at least, and then I check.
I'd maybe check if I had the DK 2120s going or whatever, or the Great Dane on Underdog. I think that's one of the big ones. But almost all of my action is on DK, which is terrible to sweat. It's egregious. I'm not even gonna try to. And two, the season's been miserable for injuries, so you could have a team that's in first, and you're well, it's dead. It's just dead.
I need Mike Williams and Hollywood Brown to play in the worst way. I have so much Hollywood. He was my round 4, just smash click. Daniel doesn't say it, but he says that my channel was part of the reasons he almost had 150K. No, just kidding, Daniel. That's tough, bro.
Hey, look, I think he was correct. He said, had I kept Vikings D. I think you were correct in not playing Vikings D. Once we found out Josh Allen was in, Vikings D stayed at I think it was 16% in the milli.
And that's the lesson of the season is any late news, which I knew Josh Allen was playing. I could just read the tea leaves. I was there's never a question. So I built Josh Allen teams.
Yeah, I did too.
Early in the week, and I just never changed them. Because I want to pay up for these quarterbacks, the elite guys, when no one else is.
Dude,
makes
Devin
sense
Singletary
on paper,
2 touchdowns. Devin Singletary 2 touchdowns on the week. The only week for the rest of our mortal lives that Josh Allen will be sub 5% is the most infuriating thing I've ever experienced. Imagine getting it in so good as to get Josh Allen as leverage off of a terrible defense play, 16% owned Vikings defense. Not only is Josh Allen low owned, but you get to kill 16% of lineups off. And Devin Singletary scores 2 rushing touchdowns.
And then the Vikings D gets that touchdown.
Yeah, I know.
On the one in line.
Yeah, you can't get it in better than super low owned Josh Allen versus when Josh Allen is playing what I would say is a bad defense play at 16%. At 2%, sure, weird stuff happens, but I think it was 16 if I remember correctly.
It was egregious. The only other worst I ran this year is when the Bills played the Dolphins, they had 90 plays and just nothing, man. The heat got them. But this week, if we just look at all of the quarterbacks first, I think this is another week where we're going to get low-owned Allen, Jackson, Hurts maybe, if all the ownership is going to be on a Fields type. How before we jump into game by game, we should go game by game here. how are you feeling about the overall slate and what quarterbacks people are going to want to play? Because I feel like, especially Josh Allen in the snow, which the way I view weather is I really only care about wind, and like the Bills we're not going to get a foot of snow during the game. It seems like we're going to get the
Yes.
snow
I've
beforehand.
read like every weather report I can find, and it seems like between like 1 and 3 inches during the game, which is not nothing, but it's not like reaching some massive threshold that it will be unplayable. And the wind, I think it's supposed to be like a somewhat windy game, like 15 to 25 mile an hour. And I think the data shows that as you start pushing past 20, it is a general net negative for passing. But this isn't egregious. The weather doesn't look any worse than like any of the other mediocre weather games, like ugly Midwest games. Nothing that is going to kill the game, assuming they can just get the field cleared, because it should be like terrible snowstorm for like 2 days or something leading up to the game. But the day of doesn't seem that bad. So
No.
I'm voraciously going to start retweeting every terrible weather report for this weekend to try and false flag Josh Allen down. So yeah, I think you correctly pointed out that all of Allen, Jackson, Hurts will be lower owned than we're kind of used to, than we would have seen in week 4, 5, 6, because Justin Fields is just nuking.
Yeah, Justin Fields. I mean, and like, look, the Justin Fields, Michael Vick narrative in Atlanta's dome, that's a narrative. Daniel Jones against Detroit at 5,700. People are going to want to play him. Don't the Falcons have something egregious, like one of the highest totals on the slate?
Yeah, they do.
What is that? The way I've been playing that is I think that CPAT on the Thursday night game, they wanted to ease him back in, and that he's going to be full go for this game. But yeah, it's kind of interesting between these three quarterbacks, Allen, Jackson, Hurts. Where do you think the field's going to go, and where would you want to go if you were paying up above Fields?
It depends how the weather works out. If like the general consensus moves towards this isn't a bad weather game, which it very well might. Obviously the weather can change, and I am not a weatherman, but it looks like it shouldn't be that bad during the game. And if that's the case, Josh Allen, when he's active, is generally a pretty popular quarterback. I think this will be mid to low owned for his normally lofty standards, but I would still peg him to be more popular than definitely Hurts and probably Jackson too. But
It's
I do
tough,
think,
man, because
yeah.
the snow narrative is out there. And
Yeah, that's why we just kind of have to wait and see how people are going to view that. I think we'll get a good idea of it by, Sunday morning. And I do think Allen will still be like a top 7 owned quarterback, but I feel like in any slate that he's not playing in a actual hurricane should be the number 2, 1, or 3 owned quarterback, depending on the rest of the slate.
But like Dak's going to get a lot of ownership this week, I think. Maybe Kirk. Like that Dallas Minnesota game is going to be very popular in the dome. The way I thought about Josh Allen is like, I used to think, oh, the Bills should get a dome. Like we have Josh Allen. And then I saw Josh Allen throw in that hurricane game against the Patriots last year. And this year, the Bills played the Ravens, and it was like real windy. And Lamar legitimately could not throw in the wind, and Allen could. So like the wind, maybe 20 miles per hour on average, does affect quarterbacks. Also, the Buffalo Stadium has some of the most unique wind, where it's this like lake effect wind, where you look up top at the stadium and the flags are going one way, and on the Buffalo Stadium, the wind's going the other way. So it really screws with people's heads. But Allen gets to practice there all week. So if anyone can throw in the wind, I think it's Allen. And even if it's windy, I'm not going to be like, oh, this is only Singletary. Knox can catch 1-yard touchdowns. Gabe Davis can catch 1-yard touchdowns. Allen can put a punch in on the ground. Anyways, let's jump into Chicago at Atlanta. This is an exciting game, man. We got pieces we like on both sides. David Montgomery, chalk might be here. Good chalk, bad chalk. We'll tell you soon. Justin Fields, feel like you got to build at least one lineup in the Millie Maker with him, right? Like, has Justin Fields won people the most money in 2022 at quarterback? He was on the winning BBM2 team. He was on my team with Allen.
In the year of our Lord 2022, yeah.
he was on the past 2 Millie Maker teams, right? Like that's at least 3 million right now.
Was he? I mean, I know he was on a winning showdown team because it was them versus the Commanders, I think, and it was kind of a weird build that projected pretty well.
Yeah, he was on that showdown team.
I don't know if he was captain or not, but it was a really good lineup.
I mean, dude, this guy's absurd. Like what, I will say that Miami and Detroit were 2 of the best defenses you could face for what he's trying to do. Against Dallas is, but I mean, like Dallas's defense is legit. Like, I don't know, man. What are we saying? 7,600 Justin Fields. Do you naked stack him? Is his price too high? Are you as a GPP bro just wanting to shy away? I can't get away this Michael Vick narrative. I can't get out of my head, man. How are you viewing it?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like the GPP bro and me immediately wants to fade Justin Fields. Since week 6, he's more than doubled his rushing expectation in terms of actual points scored versus expected rushing points. I don't think that takes into account a lot of factors like the difference between a quarterback running and a running back running, even if the down distance time, etc. I think that's everything. Down distance time, you know, is the same. Quarterback running is far, far, far more efficient from a real life and a fantasy perspective. And he's probably more efficient than the average quarterback running, who is more efficient than the average running back running. So I do think you can say like he's running over expectation, and he probably will continue to do so. But doubling up his rushing expectation, and probably even more so because he's getting 100-yard bonuses on DraftKings.
Well, and he's getting these long runs of 60+ yards.
That cannot be sticky. He's awesome, dude. He's great. And I probably will have some lineups with him because I think there are other like unique approaches you can take at running back. You can get good leverage by playing different defenses. So I think there are definitely ways to get unique. And I think I'm leaning more towards like I'd like to have exposure to a lot of the good plays if possible, as long as I can still build plus EV lineups. Like,
he's getting to the point where he's within 600 of Hurts. Like, I'll be the fish that's just like, give me Hurts. Like I can't take a guy that, we thought was a bust 6 weeks ago, like at 7,600. It's a lot. I don't know. Other pieces from this game you're interested in? I'm definitely interested in CPAT. I mentioned that I think his usage is going to ramp up. This is just pure guess that like Thursday night game, I think they were, they didn't want to rush him back so soon because he was played off an injury here. So I like the spot for CPAT, especially if he's going to be low on leverage off of like chalky Montgomery. Mariota is a guy I'll dabble with every week a little bit, where he could do it on the ground too. He's no Fields, and then, I mean, we got like Claypool. Like, if you are playing Fields, who do you want to play him with? Are you playing naked? Are you playing Mooney? What's up? What the hell happened to Claypool? I think Kyle Pitts is a fine click. Cole Kmet seems banged up. The Falcons D is a little bit better than people think. Other pieces from this game you're interested in, Kyle?
Yeah, I wonder if David Montgomery will be popular. People hate playing David Montgomery, and if you're playing him, you are probably not playing Justin Fields. And even if you are playing him, you're potentially getting leverage off of what I can almost guarantee will be the most popular quarterback. So I don't hate playing David Montgomery. He hasn't even been that bad this year. On the other side,
no, he's been fine.
Yeah,
and they're not going to like. They're not going to like play Tristan Ebner. Like
they're not playing Tristan Ebner
in Herbert like snaps at all.
Yeah. So probably getting 3 downs, like almost guaranteed work roll.
Direct leverage off of Fields chalk.
That's why I really like it, is because even if he does end up getting popular, which would make sense, he's going to project pretty well. Your points still come at the cost, unless he's catching a touchdown, which isn't awfully likely, still come at the cost of Justin Fields' points. So I don't hate going to Montgomery, even if he does end up popular. I think I want to play Mariota because he projects like as a value play pretty well and probably won't be that popular. But like, man, when is Mariota ever actually hurting you if you don't play him? Like, his best games are both at 24 points this year. Plenty of games spattered between 16 and 19 points. Like, it's just like, does he have the performance in him that you have to have to win? Like, I feel pretty strongly that he doesn't, unless all of the good quarterbacks fail.
Yeah, I think it's that he can hit 30. Like, he could definitely hit like, if we take this Carolina game, just give him one of these passing touchdowns on the goal line, give him a rushing touchdown. Or one of these other games, like, give him 2 rushing touchdowns. It's not going to be often, but at least once this year, Mariota will have 30 plus, I think. And unless one of the elite guys goes for like 40, 45, then, I think 30 for Mariota is fine. Now, and I don't think you have to stack Mariota, because part of the play is just he does it on the ground. It's ugly, man, but you can do it. And I think, something I'm going to try to do a lot more from here on out is just always correlate the tight end. Either have it in a mini stack or have it in, like last week, I just played a bunch of Dvorchak, which was tilting because he like fingertip missed a 80-yard touchdown bomb. But, like just either always have the tight end stacked with your quarterback or always have it as a bring back against a mini, whatever. What if you're playing Fields? Do you like Mooney? Do you like Claypool? Do you think Claypool's going to get more snaps? Like, it was weird, dude. He got like 12 snaps or something low last week.
Yeah, he's still not getting a full-time role. Obviously, in the first game, you don't expect that to be the case. 35% of snaps. Then last week, 31% of snaps. That goes down. And, everyone's like, oh, he's out there. He's getting targeted on every single route. Well, like, yeah, it's easy to get targeted on every single route when you have 19 plays that are schemed for you as the first or second read, and then you don't take the field ever again. So, I'm not buying the scalability of that, and it showed last week because he got less targets on fewer, I would assume fewer routes, so it was fewer snaps. So I would only play him with Mooney or Komet. I'd probably lean towards Mooney because Mooney has that like downfield ability to instantly speed up a game, and I would never run a naked quarterback. I mean, I think the only time I've ever thought it was reasonable was like Taysom Hill 4,500 starting quarterback.
Okay, yeah.
Other than that, like, if you're over 5K, I am going to stack you because to get like, obviously, like you can be a good points per dollar value at Mariota at 5,100 and rush 2 times. But even then, if you rush 2 times and you do not throw a touchdown, your ceiling is probably 28 points. And like someone on the slate is going to score 36 or something, like whether it be Kirk Cousins, Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, whoever. If it's cheap, expensive, you will probably need to pick up those 9 to 10 raw points. So I'm probably never running a quarterback naked, especially if they're priced like Justin Fields, even still if they're priced like Mariota. And I just play Pitts. Like Pitts, like obviously he's going to have great market share stats because they throw 12 times and he sees a third of them, but he also leads the NFL among tight ends and air yards. He gets a little bit of credit because
are they air yards or are they prayer yards though?
Look, every throw is a prayer in some sense.
Okay.
Some people just have stronger faith.
Great point,
God smiles
Great
upon
point.
Josh Allen nearly every time he throws one. Not as much with Mariota.
We spend a lot of time in this game, but I just want to end with...
It's going to be chalky, so it makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with Kyle that... And what we've been seeing from the teams that have won to date, not that that's that predictive, is it's a bunch of chalk, and then it's like 1 or 2 1% guys. So like, to your point is like you could build chalk Mariota team and then like stack them with, I don't know, Alameda Zacchaeus. And that's your 1%er guy. Then you can just jam chalk. Real quick, how'd you feel about CPAT? How'd you feel about my CPAT call? Not for you, or
probably not for me. How much is he? Because I think that's the thing. Is he's
the same price. He's a 6,200. Montgomery 6,100.
Yeah, I mean, think about like the level of opportunity cost you give up when you're taking CPAT, who's coming off 2 games of less than 40% of the snaps. And not only that, but the backup running backs on that team are good, which is unfortunate. Like Algier and Caleb Huntley are both over expected in rushing yards per attempt. So it's not like they have a strong... Patterson is better than them. I'm not saying he's not. But when they go to the backups, they don't completely flop. It's not like one of these backfields where no one else should be getting carries. They all deserve some level of credit. And we've seen them be very hesitant in Patterson's return. That sort of also makes sense in that last year, Patterson got the full-time running back role, banged up down the stretch, not nearly as effective. You probably want to keep him fresh in some sense. So at his, to me, he's like a 5,200 player. And at 6,200, you give up so much value at running back that I'm probably not doing it.
This is a weird week for running back. And this is what I'll say about CPAT is he is the unquestioned goal line guy. Even in these 2 weeks, like he's been subbed in. And after the Thursday night game, getting this long rest, like I could totally see him, I don't think this week 1 usage is what he is. Like he's just not getting the targets at all this year, which is kind of rough, even before injury. But I just got a feeling, man, that this could be like a closer to a Seattle game. I swear, Kyle, this is not my burner. Kyle Davis and I famously share.
We never stood a chance. That team sucks. My God.
I
actually think we played pretty well and ran bad. We won't talk about it. But dude, everyone on this team gets hurt. Jesus.
Ugh. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to bring up is that, yeah, I think the Falcons view themselves as a potential playoff
Definitely.
team.
They play in a garbage division, so they should.
Yeah, because
not a
of the
good
Bucks.
playoff team, but a playoff team.
And so, like, maybe they were played here Thursday night game. Now they get the long rest. Like, they know they need CPAT if they will luck into the playoffs. Gerardo asks, can you play Montgomery with Fields? You can always do this. It's always very thin. It's Millie Maker stuff. I would not.
Well, to me, it's actually not Millie Maker stuff because you need not quite the nut lineup, but you need to come close to it. And if he steals even one touchdown away, you're probably drawing pretty thin there. Whereas if they score 40 points or whatever, you're not as concerned with your quarterback getting 32 and your running back getting 20, as opposed to the ceiling lineup, which doesn't feature running back quarterback, which gets 36, 29 or whatever. So if you just want to like correlate your whole lineup and hope this game goes off, I think that's probably fine in like the SPY, but I wouldn't do it in the Millie because I think you can't cap that 99th percentile outcome by, you shouldn't at least do it in the Millie where you're probably fine doing that.
Like every once in a blue moon, you'll get the Justin Fields to Montgomery goal line touchdown throws, and you'll get like maybe 2 of those. And then, and there's some other quarterback running backs you can do that with. I don't want to do that because it's just like thin, and I don't really see the need to on this slate at all. But
agreed.
Anyways, let's move on. Carolina at Baltimore. This game, I should mention the last game. The Bears at the Falcons. That's a 49 over under.
Yeah, highest one by 2 points right now, I think.
Falcons 3-point favorites. This game, Carolina at Baltimore, this game is going to be a fucking beatdown. 13-point favorite Ravens, 41.5 over under. Lamar obviously in play. Like it feels like Lamar's going to do on the ground. Kenyon Drake, workhorse Kenyon Drake. I get like the Panthers can just be run on. Deontay Foreman obviously getting great work. I have a feeling that Mark Andrews is going to be really low owned this week for what Mark Andrews is. Like people are totally forgetting about like at the start of the season, it was like, why would we play a wide receiver price the same as Mark Andrews? Like you get the tight end separation. And now I feel after these like injuries and Isaiah Likely, like he's totally under the radar. I don't know if he's fully healthy. He's practicing at least. So I like him. And then, low-owned dart, Terrace Marshall, he's getting some solid down the field throws. Could fall into the end zone against a beatable secondary. How do you see this one, Kyle? Any guys you like?
Yeah, for the backfield, I'm probably just not playing Deontay Foreman going into the wood chip or the Ravens run defense. And it's not even they have the greatest run defense in the NFL. They just have a bad secondary that teams love to pass on. So not only are they good against the run, but teams obviously choose not to do that because they're bad against the pass. So it's low volume and low efficiency from the opposing teams. So it would just be DJ Moore or Dart Terrace Marshall on that side of the ball. I don't think Lamar Jackson.
This is a Mayfield game, right?
Oh God, it is a Mayfield. Jesus.
And DJ Moore with Mayfield has been brutal, right? Like, so
God, it was terrible.
So are we, I'm kind of a believer in that. And Mayfield, I think was like checking down to at least CMC somewhat. Like I don't know
a little bit. Yeah.
How do you think Mayfield impacts this?
It's bad. Mayfield's terrible. Like the fact that Mayfield is in this game is like reminds me of the way that, which is hilarious comparison, but Mayfield is so bad that whenever Josh Allen looked like he wasn't going to play, I was like, I'm probably not playing Justin Jefferson. I'm probably not playing like TJ Hawkinson because the game's going to suck. It's going to be boring and it's going to not score a lot of points. And the gap is not as large from Josh Allen to Case Keenum, but there is a gap inexplicably between Baker Mayfield and PJ Walker or vice versa. So man, I forgot that he was starting.
We're saying this about a guy who passed for 100 yards last week and 9
he threw it all to the player we love though.
9 yards in week 9, and we're like, big gap between that guy and Mayfield.
And to be fair, Mayfield did have other players to throw to. Like that was part of the thing that probably coincided that doesn't get talked about is when PJ Walker took over, it was within a week or two of CMC and Robbie getting traded. So kind of course you're going to throw to DJ Moore in that spot, whether or not you're a quarterback who relies on that player or takes more checkdowns to CMC. You're not checking it down to Deontay Foreman or Chuba Hubbard. So maybe that's sort of like part of the splits that doesn't actually, it doesn't have relevancy is because of the surrounding talent. But the backfield.
Duvernay always
Sure.
in play too.
Sure,
Like
why not? Go for it. Have
he
fun.
can go deep. How do you feel about Mark Andrews' call?
But I think he'll still be popular. I mean, like I'm looking at Stokastic stuff. They have him as the number 3 tight end, the only one people are paying up for. There aren't really any pay up options other than him, anyways. So,
but he's going to be like 12%.
That'd be my guess. They have him at like 9. I'd bump him up to 12. I think that's fair. But I do think the only way I'm playing a Lamar stack is with Andrews. It's just like I'm not really that interested in Devin Duvernay. When you look at the drop off between him and Rashad Bateman, it's very clear that he's just like a poor replacement for Bateman. I think that could even be bad for the offense, which is why I'm a little concerned about this game too. Bateman was elite in yards per route run. Like he didn't get a ton of targets, but he made impacts when he got the ball. Devin Duvernay doesn't do that. In the backfield, they're getting Gus Edwards back this week, so I have no clue what they're doing. This game just kind of seems like a fade to me. Maybe I end up going with Hurts over Fields as opposed to Lamar over Field.
Panthers D at 2,200. Panthers D, not as bad as people think. They were sellers at the trade deadline, but like 2,200 against a quarterback who could take some sacks in Lamar, playable. All right, let's move on. Cleveland at Buffalo. This game has Buffalo currently at 7.5 favorites and a 42 over under. I feel like Josh Allen off the loss is going to want to do a lot.
He wanted to do a lot in that game. My man's elbow is falling off and he was running dudes over. This guy's a lunatic and it is so awesome.
Yeah, I mean, so fun. If Cleveland has any chance, it seems like jamming Nick Chubb for like 204 on the ground is like their play in the snow. It was bizarre that Kareem Hunt did not get any pass game work in a game they were trailing by a lot. Like I played a lot of Hunt last week with that thesis. Did not hit at all. Singletary, obviously a good play, but I will say that, James Cook is getting on the field more. I think Hines' usage will ramp up over time. So I don't think workhorse Singletary is here to stay forever. It's kind of like trying to catch a falling sword with him. And I would downgrade that to a dagger almost because it's not that exciting to call him a sword.
If you catch the sword, it's such a big wieldy sword. You're catching a falling butter knife. It's like,
you're catching points, great.
Easy.
I caught 15 points.
Yeah.
Devin Singletary, 2 touchdowns, 16 points. Because he's not getting the check down work anymore. They're wisely giving that to Cook or Hines. I would not play anyone on Cleveland, really. Like DPJ, I don't think this is a good spot. You want to monitor Buffalo's injuries, though, because they got a ton of dudes. Like Tre'Davious White could come back. Jordan Poyer's been out. They've just had a ton of injuries in their secondary that have been out. And so that's something to monitor if you're going to play someone like a DPJ or an Amari Cooper. Keep in mind the Bills play a ton of zone, and there's like a bunch of splits on like Amari Cooper versus man and zone. And then, but they've been shifting a little bit more man-like. Isaiah McKenzie was on the field a lot, and if that's to stay, that's kind of interesting. But I'm still not convinced the Bills are like McKenzie over Hines and James Cook to compete for that role. And then I know this is not a good tight end spot, but like Dawson Knox at 3,200 attached to Josh Allen. If you're playing Josh Allen stacks, like Josh Allen Diggs, throw in Knox. Davis, obviously you can throw him in too as a deep threat and goal line guy. Any other players you like from this game?
No, you summed it up. I like throwing Knox into any of my Allen lineups. He's so cheap now. Like when he was getting up to, like probably last year at some time when he had scored like 3 touchdowns in 2 games, got like 4,700 or whatever. You're like, okay, you kind of need a performance that actually merits maybe not 100 yards, but 80 or something and a touchdown. He's so cheap right now. A touchdown and 40 yards could be all you need. Harrison Bryant, it doesn't look like Njoku's going to play. He said he was going to play last week, and then he obviously didn't after not practicing all week. He didn't practice on Wednesday. I don't know if he practiced on Thursday. Bryant's getting a ton of snaps. He's not doing a ton with it, but before last week, he had back-to-back games of a handful of targets. I don't remember. Yeah, he's a cheap option that you could throw in as a correlation. And like you said, I do tend to agree that tight end sucks so much that I just want to get a tight end in a good game environment. And if I've already played the quarterback in this game, I'm predicting in that it'll be a good game environment. Nothing else. You got the bases covered.
This is not, yeah, and the thing I'll say about Knox too is, he's had a slow season. His brother passed away just before the season started, so of course that will impact a player. And then he got injured, like right around, like he was like battling through injury, and I think he's
3 or 4, I think.
Yeah, he's just coming out of the injury, and it seems like his, like he's dealing with his grief, and the team is rallying around him. So I'm expecting him to have some spike weeks down the stretch. The other thing I would say is in Bill stacks, I've not been forcing bringbacks against bad teams against them. Don't feel like this is a spot you need to force a bringback against Buffalo either.
Yeah.
All right, Washington at Houston. This game has a 41 over under. The Texans are getting 3 points at home. How do you see this one? What pieces do you like? I think they committed to Heineke, but Wentz is eligible to come off IR.
He's not. They've already said he won't.
Okay, yeah. I think they did that because they won last week, but if they lost, I'm wondering what they would have done.
I kind of agree. I kind of agree, and I think even this should be another win for Washington. I don't think they'll. I mean,
if they lose, it could be Wentz next week.
It would be embarrassing if they lost this one, but it's totally possible. But I do think
man.
They don't feel the desire, the need to bring back Wentz when they're winning, though they're not getting a ton from Heineke. Like he's making tons of risky plays and not getting massive rewards on them. Like he's right now, I think he leads the NFL in turnover-worthy play rate by a massive margin. So, yeah, I don't have a ton of interest. I know Dameon Pierce is going to be popular. I'm not playing like underdog running back on a terrible offense at 6,500. No, won't be caught doing that. I don't think he doesn't have a carry inside the 5 since the Jacksonville game. Like the team doesn't put him in scoring positions because they're incapable of doing so.
Have they gotten in the 5?
No, that's the point. Is they don't get inside the 5. Like it's not his fault. He's a great running back. It's not his fault that he hasn't hit 20 points, which is not a high bar to clear since that Jacksonville.
I will say though that like the Washington defense is not that. I mean, they're getting Chase Young back, but like against Philly,
week, I don't think.
Against Philly, against Tennessee, against the Giants defense is actually a little bit better than people think. Like if there's any spot that Pierce is going to go off, I feel like this is a defense to do it. Terry McLaurin is obviously getting elite usage with Heineke under center. I'm tilted because I like locked him this week against Minnesota and it didn't hit. Brian Robinson, how do we feel? Because I mean the Commanders did something interesting where like they did like a ton of motion against Philly and you can run on Philly. And so 26 carries, I feel like he's going to be super popular. Should he be? I mean, he does not get any pass game work. He really needs to get in the end zone twice, right? So like that by default kind of means like, no, we should not be locking this guy. But man, he looked like the juggernaut on some of those plays, like just would not go down and like a good story. So how do you feel about Brian Robinson? And the other players I want to play in this game is I want to play quite a bit of Nico Collins as salary relief. Got 10 targets. I think it's very clear that Houston wants to move on from Brandon Cooks next year. And so they want to give Nico every chance to be that guy, I think, to form that connection with Davis Mills. And then below Nico, I don't think you can play really any of these guys. But, Curtis Samuel and play every week as well, a little bit harder. So how are you feeling about Brian Robinson? How you feel about the Nico call?
Yeah, I didn't think Brian Robinson was going to be that popular, but he is pretty cheap. There are not really, like, who are the playable running backs below 6?
It's just like this Houston run D, man. Like, who has failed against them? You see this?
I mean, it's a good spot for sure. I think the operative point for me is that if I'm playing Brian Robinson, I absolutely want to pair him with Washington D because you get instant correlation or negative correlation against Dameon Pierce, likely chalk, because that's, I don't know. I'm just not buying into Dameon Pierce as a player who can outperform his dreadful team. Like he can run for 5 yards a carry against any defense, but if his team isn't getting him carries in the red zone and they're not throwing him the ball a ton, he's still running good routes, but like his receiving totals are just 2, 0, 3, 4, 3. He gets an extra 4 or 5 points through the air, but it's really not that much. Like it's not enough to overcome a bad offense in the way that Alvin Kamara or Christian McCaffrey are. So most games, I just have no fear of him dropping a 30 burger on me. because his team's terrible. So I like Brian Robinson plus Washington D. Terry McLaurin's a really good call too.
How'd you feel about Nico? And maybe Dotson gets ramped up.
You can play Nico. I wouldn't play Dotson. He was not earning targets early in the season. He was running hot on touchdowns, but it was clear he was the third receiver. So I wouldn't play him. Yeah, Nico's fine.
This next game, Philly at Indy in the Dome, has Indy getting 7 points at home in a 44 over under. I mean, Jonathan Taylor is one of the best plays on the slate. Like if Jordan Davis is out for the Eagles, you can run all over Philadelphia. The Colts, Jeff Saturday's out there, running O-line drills with his guys, making them do it again and again. This is a eruption spot for Taylor, I feel. The who you play on the bring back is a little bit harder because AJ Brown rolled his ankle in the first
he did not look good after that. He somehow played through it.
He just was a decoy. I mean, so he ran out there, rolled his ankle, and then they were just like, all right, go out there and jog routes and you'll still draw coverage because the defense is like, what are we going to do? Uncover AJ Brown? You don't want him to Greg Jennings you. Hold my leg, Greg Jennings. So I think Taylor's in a really great spot at affordable salary. With Goddard out, it maybe will narrow the target tree for Philadelphia a little bit, where maybe Devonta Smith, AJ Brown become easier to play. Paris Campbell with Matt Ryan has been electric. Alec Pierce, not so much. Michael Pittman is looking better with Matt Ryan as well, and he's getting down there in salary. Michael Pittman at 6,100 seems like a place to almost price enforce. And then these backup tight ends for Philadelphia, it might be Jack Stoll this week, but long-term, Tyree Jackson, ex-quarterback, seems exciting and seems like he could be involved in some trick plays, So what's your lean on the backup tight ends for Philly? And how do you feel about the Jonathan Taylor call and any of the other players in this game?
Yeah, the receivers are weird because AJ Brown looked so hurt. Devonta Smith was hurt too. Obviously, still got that Q tag. Brown said he was fine on Wednesday.
I think Brown will be fine now. You roll an ankle, I feel like that's fine next week, right?
I don't know. It was wasn't it Gabe Davis rolled an ankle and he didn't do anything for 4 straight games. Then he blew up. But obviously, that could just be randomness too. He did not seem fine though, so I have no clue. Devonta Smith a little banged up too. So that gives me a little bit of pause. The tight ends, I do think it'll be Stoll. Stoll is actually playing 30-40% of snaps in a bunch of games when they did have Dallas Goedert. He's mostly a blocker, but if he's gonna try, at least if they have no other option but to put him in that Dallas Goedert role, maybe I'd be interested. But the thing is, Dallas Goedert had a pretty low
RAS profile. This is Jack Stoll's RAS. You need to have a high RAS to be good at tight end. This is not terrible. A elite 3 cone time, which is good for the turnaround routes, and an okay 10 yard split, which is really the one I care about. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. He's 2,500, which is nice. But the thing Dallas Goedert was doing is he was getting a ton of shallow targets and leading the NFL, at least leading tight ends in yards after the catch.
Yeah, he's getting those screen routes.
Yeah. He was getting low value targets and turning them into high value by being really good. I don't think that's a skill many players have, and I certainly don't think Jack Stoll has it. So I'd probably just play a Pittman or Taylor, run it back with then play the Hurts stack with probably AJ Brown. I don't think AJ Brown will be popular at all with the Q tag, with the dud. I'll gamble on it. I was gambling on Davis every single game when he was hurt. Of course, I'll play AJ Brown.
Hey, me too, brother. I blew up a bunch of money doing that, which was so dumb because if we looked at the practice reports, it was did not practice, hey. Limited practice. So I think Taylor, again, one of the best plays on the slate. Maybe Philadelphia does something to stop the run and says Matt Ryan is not beating us. And if you can afford it, the Eagles D at 3,900 is... Matt Ryan is going to get eviscerated if he throws.
He's bad.
Which it could mean it's a 16 target game for Michael Pittman, where he's just getting a bunch of quick ones. 16 targets, barely gets 100 yards. I don't know. All right, this next one, defense bowl. The Jets at the Patriots. Patriots only getting 3.5, 38 over under. My take on this one is everyone thinks the Patriots D is this like great play, but the Jets D is an equally good play. The Jets D, very good.
I'm in for that.
And, like, sure, the Patriots beat up on the Jets last time. It was a 20. I think the Jets scored in garbage time. But I think Damian Harris was like banged up that game. No, he got 11 targets or 11 rushing attempts. I don't know. It's just harder to click Stevenson with Harris back. I think Garrett Wilson has gotten to the point where he's almost matchup proof. He just seems that good to me. And I don't know if the field is that hip to that where it almost doesn't matter who Garrett Wilson is playing at 4,900 with how good he is. He just seems like a play you could play every week. Jacoby Myers also in play every week. He beat up on the Jets last time. Any pieces you like from this game?
This game sucks. I'm totally down for like a little Garrett Wilson, Jacoby Myers, mini correlation. Ramondre is really tough. It's like the thing I said with CPAT. I mean, I do think Ramondre will get half of the carries and most of the running back targets, but the offense isn't that good. It is a difficult matchup for, against the Jets defense. And he's more expensive than Pierce, who has a better role. He's more expensive.
Do you think this is who he is? Like 7 to 8 targets a game? Or do you think JJ Taylor is going to take some of that?
No, I don't think JJ Taylor is taking any of that.
A healthy Damian Harris got 2 targets the past 2 games.
A whole 2.
I mean, that's for Damian Harris. Like he's used to 0. So
no, I think this is. I think
the point is that 7 to 8 targets is so high. Like, is this who he is?
7 to 8 is probably a little high. That's like pushing for Alvin Kamara numbers, but I do think 5 to 6 is probably a reasonable projection for him.
That's 7, 8 solid for like a guy like Ramondre, who we.
Yeah, I'm confident Ramondre is like a good top 15 running back, but at 6,700 when you can get, and I don't even love Dameon Pierce, but when you can get Dameon Pierce, when you can get, Devin Singletary, when you can get Brian Robinson for super cheap, or David Montgomery, who's going to have a significantly better role on an offense that's probably better now.
Yeah. What about the last guy to touch on here is Elijah Moore?
Dude, why would anyone do this? This is the dumbest thing
I don't think this is the week, but they're saying that they're finally going to work him in at the slot, which is, I think, his natural position. So I'll be monitoring that. And then, if you really need the salary, I think Tyquan Thornton is a guy you can play every week. You need him to do what he did his first week, where he just goes nuclear and gets a bunch of touchdowns. And then he's playing a bunch of snaps. And then Tyler Conklin, I mean, he's had a bunch of spike weeks this year. So real quick before we go to our next game, let's play, so Saquon, RB1, Taylor up there, Stevenson might be top 5 running back, might be top 6.
That's a good point. I was dunking on a little bit, but
this is an ugly running back slate, I think.
Yeah, I would take, Mixon over him for sure. Kamara over him. Taylor.
Would you take Mixon if Chase plays?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
But that's I can only name 5 probably. Yeah, I could probably top out at 5.
Yeah, a guy getting that much and I think ownership will reflect that too, by the way. I don't think you're getting some big discount on him. All right, the Rams at the Saints. Unfortunately, I think the Red Rifle is staying in there for the Saints. I want Jameis desperately, not only for my best ball teams, but just for fun. Saints, 3-point favorites at home, 39 over under. I think Stafford's going to play, but I mean, Stafford without Kupp is a very neutered dog.
He's already terrible.
Yeah, so I don't think you need to chase these Rams guys. You can play some Van Jefferson at really low ownership. You can play some who's the other guy that I'm
Ben Skowronek?
Yeah, Ben Skowronek. You could play a little bit. I'm a little bit interested in Jarvis Landry if you need a cheaper guy at 4,500. And I'm wondering if the presence of Jarvis makes Kamara a worse pick, where they kind of compete both for those check down type targets. Chris Olave, obviously a stud. How do you feel about A-Rob with Cup out. I'm not that brave. Are you?
No, dude. Like, the thing is, like, for you to acquire more targets when a talented player leaves, you have to have some semblance of talent, which, like, he just doesn't have anymore. Like, not to diminish what he was, but he is not what he was. He is hardly a 53-man roster type of player. So, no, I'm not doing that. You can maybe sell me on Van Jefferson, because if he gets 8 targets, he's getting 200 air yards, because that's where his targets come. But, that's thin, but I think it's reasonable.
Yeah. What about Jarvis? Are you interested at all in Jarvis? Like, came back, did fine. Like, is this week 1 Jarvis just a mirage, or are we going to get any? Like, with Michael Thomas being out and the Saints in a winnable division, even though they suck, I don't know. I feel like he could, and Kyron will obviously get ramped up over time too, but I'm not that brave this week, I don't think. And Higbee, we have to mention that Higbee, I don't feel like this is a Higbee week, but the dude's gonna be a target monster. Like, it's so weird because Higbee weeks 1 through 5 was looking like the smash late tight end, and then week 6, 8, and 9 happened, and it was like, this guy sucks. So, like, who is the?
We had to
true
bring him
Higbee?
in the block more, and like 2 of those games, he spent like 2/3 of his snaps running route, which was far from what he was at the beginning of the year. But they have lost. Like, they're on their like 7th left tackle or something. So they keep.
Oh yeah,
bringing
they
him in
lost
the block.
another O lineman this week.
Yep, they lost some interior linemen and their 7th-string left tackle. I don't think they have the option as much to play him in line, because he's their best receiver, and he's a tight end, but he's their best receiver. So I don't actually hate playing him. His price is also down to 4K, where it was like almost 5K early in the year. So he's fine, just because could be a lot of volume. He's the only. I'm probably not playing Van Jefferson, so I think he's the only Ram I would play. On the other side, I think someone said in chat, dude, I'm not playing Jarvis Landry. I'm not playing this like 34-year-old.
I have some Millie Maker teams where I just have I've shifted out pretty much every 4,500 player in it. So it's like Jarvis.
There's a better one than him. I don't know who
it's
it is.
Van Jefferson. It's some of the it's
I'd rather
Kyle
play Matt
Pitts.
Collins, Van Jefferson, Khalif Raymond.
Yep, it's Matt Collins. But I've just like, I had 4,500. I'm like, I want to play every jar and hope that one of them hits on like a Millie Maker team. Kamara, how do you feel about him? Like, this spot for him? Like, his usage has been way down. Maybe that coincides with Jarvis being back, as I said. Maybe it doesn't. How do you feel about him?
I'm probably still not that concerned. I can't be that concerned about Jarvis or about how Jarvis affects him if I'm also saying Jarvis isn't good or useful anymore. I do think maybe the only sort of pushback on my own pushback of myself is that even if I don't think Jarvis is good, I think he still has the ability to draw targets. I don't think they're high value targets, but I do think the fact that he can come back and get like a 21, 22% target share, he does nothing with it. Shocking. But
but those used to be Kamara checkdowns.
Yeah, that's the point, is like I'm not playing him because he comes back and gets targets, but it makes me a little concerned about Kamara. Not enough, though, that like I think if Kamara isn't, I still think Kamara's a top 5 back until further notice. If we get a few more games like this, I'd be more concerned. We saw 2 weeks ago, Jarvis wasn't playing. They get stomped by Baltimore, and his role is bad too. So that could just as easily be the same explanation as it was last week, which they got kind of stomped by the Steelers. So to me, that's what I would probably guess was the issue, is you couldn't move the ball and your team was bad. And that's why you didn't get targets or carries. So I'd bet on that over Jarvis, though I don't think it's impossible that Jarvis steals looks from him.
Yeah, and I will say that, both defenses are obviously in play facing these quarterbacks. I will say that gut feeling, the Rams want Kyren Williams to be a thing. So Millie Maker Fields, if you want to get a week ahead of this, like, you could play Kyren the next couple of weeks and hope that he usurps Henderson.
I'm not playing Kyren because I think if you got 100% of the touches on this backfield, you'd score 0 touchdowns and get 40 yards from scrimmage. This team is
That's
terrible.
Fair. I'm hoping for like 6 checkdowns, like, because without Kupp, they need guys taking these screens, and maybe it's a bunch of Kyren screens. All right, Detroit at the Giants, kind of a fun game. This has the Giants only as 3-point favorites, 45 over under. Walk us through this one, Kyle.
Yeah, this one, I'm guessing this one will at least be popular as like one-offs. I think we could even get Daniel Jones.
A ton of one-offs. Yeah.
Yeah, like Saquon's a good play. Wan'Dale's banged up. Darius Slayton looks like a good play. You compare Darius Slayton with Daniel Jones, who's super cheap, and it's the lines is the nut spot, right? So I think the Giants especially, but really both sides should draw some ownership. The other side, it's got to just be like Amon-Ra. But I don't know. These teams are not that good. I'm not sure I want to be playing popular Daniel Jones. I'm 100% on board playing popular Saquon Barkley. It's perfectly fine with me. He's the RB1 on the slate, and I don't see anyone having a strong case against that in terms of projection. Like, obviously, someone can pass him, but it's a great matchup versus a terrible defense. Barkley has gotten absolutely fed in their games they've won. So I'm probably just fine with that. And if Daniel Jones is popular, I think it will not stop Barkley from being popular. But it's the David Montgomery thing. We're sure I'm still eating 25% chalk Barkley or whatever he ends up being. But if he scores 3 rushing touchdowns, I have killed off 10% of Daniel Jones lineups or whatever, the 10% of lineups that play Daniel Jones. So I'm not awfully interested in this game other than Barkley. You could probably correlate it with Amon-Ra, but
I will say, Swift, I've been chasing him the past couple of weeks. That's
terrible idea.
So I'm such a believer in the talent, but he's just
he's great. Yeah, he's great, but
not clearly not healthy. If you need salary relief, this is a guy I drafted every year in best ball, and
why would you draft him every year in best ball?
Because he was like the Bills. If Diggs or Davis went down, it was going to be Isaiah Hodgins. And so Isaiah Hodgins at the salary min came in off the practice squad and, played 43 offensive snaps. So I would definitely monitor this. I think he already got signed. That's right, on a slate with almost no cheap salary guys, this is a guy who he's a big body.
Well, you know what? He knows the offense. He's playing for what is Bills of New. They're both of New York, but Bills of New York City. So he probably literally does know the offense to some degree in the way that like Jeff Wilson knew the offense right away.
No, he does. I mean, Brian Daboll clearly targeted him off the Bills practice squad, and I mean he's facing Darius Slayton and Wan'Dale Robinson. Like this is not, and Daniel Bellinger is out, in this like Jack Stoll guy has been getting these targets. So Isaiah Hodgins is a guy I like as some salary relief. Obviously, you could play Amon-Ra and Gang every week. Jamal is just like the goal line role. So like if you think the Lions beat up on the Giants, go for it. I don't really love the spot. The Giants run the highest league of man defense in the league. I don't know if that makes Amon-Ra a little bit less appetizing. Seems like he's a little bit more of a zone beater, but maybe it's the opposite. I don't know. All right, Las Vegas at Den. This game features 2 teams who have probably quit on their coaches at this point in the year. 41 over under. Denver getting 3, -3 at home. How do you see this one, man? Like this one is hard to click a lot of these guys.
Yeah, I feel like we're gonna maybe get chalk Courtland Sutton and Greg Dulcich, and they're both in good spots. Jerry Jeudy, if he's playing, cannot be healthy. He got carted off the field, and it looked bad. They say he has a chance to play. I don't think that's accurate, or I don't think it will be accurate at the time we get inactives. Not as important. And also Kendall Hinton is also a little banged up. Who was their third receiver because KJ Hamler is hurt. So
lots of famed ex-quarterback.
Yeah, lots of X or lots of like this guy's out. I guess this guy gets targets. And to be fair, the guys that will be pumped, Greg Dulcich and Courtland Sutton, are good players. But this is literally the number 32 offense in points per game. They're like 26 in yards per play. They are terrible. So if they're going to be popular, which I have a lean, especially that Greg Dulcich will, but I would guess there's
Greg will for sure.
Yeah, he's a good like sub 4K.
The only question is, what does Jack Stoll do to the slate? Because if the 2,500 punt tight end pools like 15-20%, that has a lot of ripple effects.
I don't think he will because it's not 100% clear that it's him over Grant Calcaterra or was it Tyree Jackson or whatever, the former quarterback. He played for the DC Defenders in the XFL, and I think he was still a quarterback at the time.
Went to the University of Buffalo too. Signed to the Bills to start the Foster Moreau obviously is a guy you could play every week.
I'd rather play Moreau over Dulcich.
The thing about Dulcich, man, is this looks bad, but if you looked at that game, he like in the first quarter, I think Russ targeted him on like a 60-yard bomb that just barely missed him, and he fell on his shoulder. And and he like came up limp, like he came up not fully himself. So I'm wondering if he got banged up and just was like in the game. I played so many Russ, Dulcich, Sutton stacks last week, just saying you can beat Tennessee deep. Fuck it, let's do it. It was
Good
close.
quarterbacks can beat Tennessee deep.
Yeah, no, it did not. It did not work at all. I mean, Sutton had his best game of the week, but man, Denver's brutal. What do you think this is Josh Jacobs doing what he did to Denver last time? Like, I think it's so real that both these teams have to be so, like, the players in these locker rooms have to be so disappointed with their seasons to date that like they both had hype coming in. They both probably thought they were playoff caliber teams and both realized they have no shot of making the playoffs. So what does that do to players? I really do think they lose some motivation. Melvin Gordon got 6 targets last week. I mean,
No,
gross, but he could do it. I mean, I don't know, man. Like, this game's mostly a stay away, play the tight ends, play, definitely worse plays than playing Matt Collins, who, with everyone out, like by de facto has to get work. But yeah, a spot you can definitely play both defenses too, especially the Raiders defense, 2,500.
Yeah, I'm totally on board, especially if Dulcich and Sutton are popular, playing Josh Jacobs, whose role hasn't changed. He hasn't been blowing up like he was a few weeks ago, but he was also scoring, 3 touchdowns, 1 touchdown, 2 touchdown. Like, that wasn't going to sustain, but the 20 carries, obviously that is at least possible for him to keep up. And he did last week. He didn't have an explosive game. He only ran at 3.7 a carry, but he got 21 carries and 8 targets. They were losing that game, so of course his target volume was inflated, but he was out there for 80% of the snaps. He's still like a true 3 down back. I think people soured on him a little bit. So playing him and the defense as like direct leverage on possible like value Sutton, value whoever, like I actually do like that. I'd be fine playing Devontae. I don't think people are going to play him because of the Pat Surtain matchup. Surtain's awesome. He's really good, but so is Devontae. And even difficult matchups, Devontae's just going to draw a ton of targets. Like we saw this a lot with DeAndre Hopkins
in week 4.
Yeah, and we saw it with DeAndre Hopkins versus Jalen Ramsey, both when they were playing the AFC South, then again when they've matched up in the NFC West or whatever that division is. Like, you can still draw a ton of targets when you play against a difficult corner because the rest of your receivers are not that good. And he's playing with Matt Collins as his number 2. I could not name you their number 3 receiver. I truly don't know who it is. I don't even see him on this list. He's so down.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Like they listed all the
Keelan Cole or someone.
Yeah, it's I don't. Yeah, the point that's literally the point is that I don't know who the third receiver is, and they don't have Darren Waller. It's Foster Moreau, so I'm not concerned with the matchup. And as far as I think he will get a ton of targets, and sure, he may be less valuable on a per target basis, but he gets 16 targets. I don't care if it came against Surtain or whatever terrible corner the Jags trot out or something. So I like him. I don't even hate Matt Collins because, like you said, he gets deep targets and he's going to be in the field every single play. I probably won't play a single Denver player.
I know you have a hard out, so let's move. The last thing I'll say is I know Foster and Greg will be popular. Resist the urge to one-off these guys. Either correlate someone or pass on them and correlate a different tight end. In the long run, I think that's just more profitable than picking a one-off tight end. Dallas at Minnesota, a very fun game, 47.5 over under. Vikings plus 1.5 at home. Give me a bunch of Dak this week, man. Like, it seems like the Dak, CD Lamb, Gallup stacks, the Dak, CD Lamb, Schultz stacks, the Dak, Schultz, Gallup stacks. Like, I want to be playing Schultz. I've been a believer in him for the long run. He just gets these targets. He's been cucked by like Peyton Hendershot a bunch, and that eventually didn't happen last week. The Hawkinson is obviously a fine play as 2 you can correlate in this game. You can correlate Jefferson. KJ Osborne got 11 targets last week. I think that was more a product of them being down, but you can build him in. Thielen is looking cooked, so I don't want to play Thielen.
No, Thielen is so cooked.
This is a good spot for Cook. This is a good spot for Pollard because Pollard's good, but Elliott might play.
I think he's playing. I'm not 100% sure, but I'd bet like 60-40 plus that he plays.
Okay, and I'm sure that impacts him quite a bit. Who do you like in this game? Are you with me on the Dak stacks, or do you like the Cousins side? And who are you building with Dak if you are building this game?
Yeah, I think I would only play Dak, CD, Schultz. You could probably argue Michael Gallup is viable. I think he popped up on the injury report as like limited. I think it was limited.
He got hurt in this game, and then he went into the medical tent and then came right back in, and then was like,
I guess he's probably playing them, but that would be a little concerning if he's playing as more of a decoy, just running wind sprints. So yeah, I'd probably stick to just CD. I think the problem is that like this game is probably going to be popular, and it is so obvious how you stack it. I think it's very obvious. You go one of the quarterbacks, obviously, one of the top receivers, and one of the tight ends. There's just almost no other way to do it because I think Adam Thielen is dust. KJ Osborne is not that good. I think I'd like maybe.
I think the way to get different is Dak, Jefferson, Gallup, Schultz.
Yeah,
and just
that would
say
be different.
Say it's like Schultz is getting all the zone looks, Gallup gets a couple deep, and Lamb gets like bracketed coverage. And Jefferson's Jefferson.
Yeah. I like Hawkinson in this spot. Doesn't look like, at least early ownership doesn't have him as that popular, but he really has a strong chance to be this team's number 2 receiver. I think he's second on the team in targets since he joined them. He's played over 90% of the snaps both games, and he's got a quarter of the red zone targets. Like, they just don't have a good number 2 receiver. Thielen is washed. Osborne is at best a number 3. Hawkinson was pretty efficient when he was with the Lions, and that's proving to be, holding true in 2 games with the Vikings. So like, if you're getting number 2 receiver volume at what is he, 5,300, that's probably a perfectly fine, if even slightly underpriced, spot for him in a good, a good potentially high scoring matchup. I will say, I'm not a film bro, but left tackle Vikings Christian Darrisaw, I don't think he's playing. He got a concussion last week, didn't practice Wednesday, and it is obviously a fierce matchup with Dallas. So sneaky leverage spot. How much is Dallas's defense?
3,200 only. That's a big discount. And so
it's a big discount for like a legit, like one of the best fantasy defenses. Maybe literally
second best.
Second best.
The best or second best. And they they should be like 4K still. Like, if we're I will say that I feel like Schultz is at least $1,000 underpriced if he is healthy. Like, I feel like if he keeps up this work and he falls in the end zone a couple times, we're going to see him priced up 5,500. So I want to be jamming Schultz while he's priced right next to Tyler Higbee, who, like, I'm so confident is not going to get in the end zone that often. So yeah, definitely a game that's going to be popular, but a game we like as well. Cincinnati at Pitt. Has Chase already been ruled out?
I don't know if he's already been ruled out, but he ain't playing this week.
Wasn't present, on track to remain out. This game, 41 over under. Pitt getting +4 at home. Only +4 by Pitt. Pitt coming off a big win. Kenny Pickett, man, the past couple of weeks, he's getting more mobile work. Like, if you fall into the end zone like he did maybe twice, like, that becomes legitimate. He has a more narrow target tree, so feels like you could build some gross Pickett stacks with, Mixon and Higgins or Mixon and Boyd bringbacks if you wanted to. How do you feel about this game? Najee had his best game of the year last week.
Didn't get in the end zone. Didn't get 100 yards.
Doesn't say a lot about him.
Pass. Oh my God.
Jalen Warren's a guy I'm playing a lot in FFPC leagues. Because I have to play him, but he looks good. It's just he doesn't get that work.
Yeah, I'm not
Freiermuth.
I'm not playing Kenny Pickett. I'm probably not playing. Kenny Pickett has been one of the worst passing quarterbacks in the NFL this year. He had like an early start where he was pretty hot in CPOE, and even that has tapered off. It's just sort of lining up with his very bad EPA per play. Even I think he has, obviously the first game, I don't think it was technically a start, but he did get in the end zone twice. Obviously doesn't get to 20 points there. Gets in the end zone last week, 51 yards on the ground. Doesn't get to 20 points there. He's like super Mariota in a bad way. He is the like Mariota light. So I'm not playing him, and I don't even want to play his receivers. There might be like a reasonable argument to buy low on a Deontay or even a Pickens, but like I just can't do it. Pittsburgh's defense giving up the highest rate of long carries in the NFL this year, and Joe Mixon has an extremely good role on the ground. Like, I think there's a pretty strong argument for him to be like the number 2 fantasy back this week, even over like a Taylor or a Jacobs. So I like Mixon.
Taylor's D is my favorite D on the slate with TJ Watt back. But I think they're going to be popular too. Like against a team that gives up a lot of sacks in the Bengals. And the Steelers D with TJ Watt and without TJ Watt is a totally different defense. Steelers play a ton of man defense. Feels like T. Higgins is the man beater over Boyd. Also feel like this could be a Hurst week. Does that impact you at all, the man defense, as far as what sides you want on Cincinnati, or is it just mixing for you?
No, you could. I mean, T. Higgins is really good. You should probably, like, if you built 150 every week, you should probably always have some T. Higgins, because he just has like the, he may not have like weekly 15 targets like someone like Jefferson does, but he's
Gabe Davis, he's Mike Williams to me. T. Higgins, they're all the same.
I think he's like Gabe plus, honestly. Like he's definitely more talented than Gabe Davis.
Maybe, but that's also how he's viewed in the market.
Yeah, I think he should be viewed more highly than that. I mean, he's priced higher than that, obviously. So I think
he's done it one game this year, right? Like what has he done other than that? He's been.
I mean, last season he was smashing like pretty consistently.
Yeah. I don't know. I faded T a little bit more in best ball this year because I just felt like Chase was going to take it, but obviously Chase, RIP. All right, let's build a $20 Billy Maker team. You have 50% equity in this. Start us off with the game you want to stack or quarterback or whatever. What game you want to play? Let's get weird out here, Kyle.
It's not weird, but let's go, Alan. Let's mess up these field slappies.
Fuck yeah. Do you want to go Diggs and Knox, or just Diggs? Or
no, let's do Diggs Knox.
Okay.
Either that, or we could do Diggs Harrison Bryant. I do like the Harrison Bryant run back.
Let's do Knox. It's just that Matt Milano's back, and he's like an elite cover tight or linebacker for the Bills. So it's bet like, I don't know, man. Like Cleveland could legitimately be beat by like 30 this game if things go wrong for them. All right, so that leaves us with $5K salary. Let's chuck in a D. I'm gonna chuck in the Steelers D just for now. And then I really like Jonathan Taylor. Do you want to do Taylor, or would you rather pay up for Barkley, or would you want to pay down? Is there another player you want to force in here?
Oh, yeah. So I'd be fine with Taylor. Let's do the this is off the topic, but I was thinking about expensive running backs. Let's do the Hodgins Goober, so we can get more expensive running backs in there.
Okay, so we got Isaiah Hodgins, and you want to do Taylor and Barkley, or
let's go Taylor Jacobs for now.
Taylor Jacobs, I like Jacobs. That leaves us with 4,700. So we could get up to, that's like a Gallup and a Mac Hollins, maybe. That's an Isaiah McKenzie. You can triple stack. Anyone you want me to chuck in here? We could do double tight end and do like Schultz and someone. Obviously, that's hard, but double tight end's actually been hitting quite a bit this year. But the second tight end is someone like Kyle Pitts, usually.
Mm-hmm. Let's go with Garrett Wilson. You talked about Garrett Wilson. Yeah. I like him. He's a very good player. That leaves us with how much left?
4,500. So that could mean.
Oh, this is the dreaded price range.
This is so I'm literally going to do what I saw. I'm going to put in every 4,500 player. So like I'm going to put in Kyle Pitts. I'm going to put in Mac Hollins. I'm going to put in Jarvis Landry. I'm going to put in Van Jefferson. I'm not going to put in Justice Hill. I'm going to put in James Cook, and I'm going to put in McKenzie for the stack.
Paris Campbell, and then we go up to Raiders defense for the Jacobs correlation.
Campbell. Okay, you like Campbell.
It does give us two indie players though.
Yeah, but that doesn't like Campbell.
I don't think it's a big deal.
Campbell can get there, and the running back wide receiver stack is something I try to do a lot on DK.
All right, let's do it. I'm totally fine with it. Yeah, it doesn't bother me either. It's fine. I don't care.
You like the Raiders more than the Steelers? Yeah.
I think Steelers are like a good points per dollar projection. It is.
I try not to stack running back defense in Millie Maker. It's like, for ceiling reasons.
I'm not really concerned with it capping their ceiling. I'd be more concerned with potentially playing the chalk defense of the week. It is a great, like having TJ Watt back and then getting to play the like very obvious, like I do love playing like defenses against popular Bengals, but when the defense is going to be chalk against the Bengals, I'd probably shy away from that. And we get like super good leverage off of these like terrible Denver plays.
Yeah, I would like the Texans D is interesting D too. All right, so let's just try to hand calc this. Let's say Josh Allen and Diggs gives us like 60, and let's say 30 each from Taylor and Jacobs too. So 30, 60, 90, 120. And then let's say everyone else scores 20 maybe, or do you want to give 30? Like, I'm just trying to say that we have a chance of shipping this, right? So
I mean, I wouldn't have picked these players if I didn't think we had a chance.
1-4, but I think this is a useful exercise. To, like, if you can't convince yourself, the team.
Well, I did. We talked about this, guys. I've convinced myself.
We're just going through it.
20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20,
140,
20.
160, 180, 200, and then the Raiders D gives us 10, 210. So
what a useful exercise.
Well, you got to at least tell yourself a story if you're like, Paris Campbell 5. Like, no, okay. All right, that's our team. Don't dupe us, guys.
You would have heard from me if I thought we were putting a 5er in there.
Real quick, if you have time, do you want to build a showdown?
I got time. Go for it.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I got time. We're good.
Let's build a
really looked at this
showdown lineup.
We're looking at it together.
This is my first time looking at this. We're gonna lock in Christian Watson captain with Aaron Rodgers, and let's build from here.
I hate this. I feel like this is the ultimate buy high spot.
Hey, man, how do you not 4 catches, 3 touchdowns? If you extrapolate that out to 100 catches, that's what, like 90 touchdowns? That's pretty good.
That's true. It is a lot of touchdowns.
All right, we don't have to do that. How would you want to build it?
That's not that bad. I'm looking at ownership, and he's not projected to be that popular. I would go.
I mean, Tennessee is just the team you could beat deep. And my take is like they need Christian Watson running these deep routes so that they can run the ball, which they want to do.
Yeah, I think my favorite captain play would be Treylon Burks, but I don't hate Watson. I'm looking at his ownership projection. It's not high. So yeah, let's do it. Do Watson. Do
you want to throw in Jones and Burks too?
Let's do Watson, Jones, Burks, probably Rodgers still.
Yep, Rodgers is in there.
All right, so we got average remaining 6K.
Jordan Love, second half. No.
Jordan Love done.
We get Robert Tonyan in there. I feel like he'll be not popular after a couple rough box scores.
Yeah, let's. So I'm gonna try and find the worst like $200 play we can have.
Okay, let's look at some of this, see if I notice any of these names. I don't think Travis Fulgham's on the field.
No, we got to find Chiga Kwanu.
Dontrell Hilliard is a guy I drafted a lot in best ball, and kind of makes sense if we're saying that Green Bay pushes them. And he'll be obviously leverage off of Derrick Henry.
Let's see. Also, the Packers going to have to trot out some pretty bad third receiver unless Randall Cobb's back, but I don't.
Randall Cobb is back.
Ugh. I wonder how much he plays in his first game back. Do we see any Samori Toure or however you say that guy's name?
Well, Randall Cobb is 200.
Oh Jesus! I hate when DraftKings does.
So we could do Cobb.
They did this with
Henry.
Eli Mitchell. They did it with like Debo. Juju in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's terrible when they do this. It's like, why are the Niners game was awful. I didn't I did one lineup and I was like, Mitchell was 200 and active. What the hell?
I got lucky and full faded Mitchell and only 8 points from him, but he had the role of like a 15-point a game player, so I got lucky.
I feel like this team would be duped.
Oh, 100%. It's got to be the highest, close to the highest projected.
All right, so let's get off of Henry, or do you want to get off of the Cobb Henry combo altogether? Like we could do someone. I think
we're probably playing Cobb. I still think we go Cobb, and I'd be fine taking out one of.
We could do
Burks.
Hilliard Lazard. That's kind of interesting.
I think it's probably still good to play Cobb. Especially in a large field. Like if you get into like the spy or the second time they release the spy or whatever, he's going to be like 30% owned. But in the Millie Maker, like he's got an IR tag. It's just hard
for Rodgers to support 3 players. So you would rather go like Tannehill Cobb over, yeah, maybe so.
Let's swap out Tannehill for Big Dog and go down from Aaron Jones. Maybe leave some salary.
Okay. You want to go down to Lazard or Tannehill?
I could do that. I'd even be down to go down all the way down to like AJ Dillon.
Okay. So we got the, and then do we want to keep Burks? Because we're saying Burks scores more than Tannehill, which is a tough sell.
Yeah, I was going to ask you to do the same at captain, see how much X scores than Y. But yeah, instead of that, who can we go from Burks up to?
We can go up to Tannehill. We can go up to Lazard.
Well,
We
I
could
think
do a 5-1.
Yeah, I think the Lazard one makes sense. Unless there's some, yeah, that's 1,500 unique captain. Still be a little doopy, but AJ
It's just
Dillon should be
hard.
pretty unpopular. Yeah,
So
like playing Cobb, like I think you should do it, and I think it's still hard to get unique. Though Watson won't be popular. AJ Dillon probably isn't that popular because he's been sucking.
How do we feel about Captain Christian Watson with Lazard and Cobb? So it's like, okay, Cobb goes
Cobb needs 2 points to be it could literally be 2 if that's the way the construction works.
We need Lazard to get 20, and we need Watson to get like 25.
If it's a low-scoring game, you don't even need that.
And then Dillon falls in the end zone. And Derrick Henry's Derrick Henry. I like it. Do not dupe us. Kyle, ask the people, don't dupe us.
Guys, come on. I'm on a bit of a downswing. I'm working a lot. I need this. I need this to not be chopped with anyone other than me and Liam, who I'm already chopping this equity with. If it is, what is top prize? Got to be 500,000 tonight. I don't know. I can't take anything less than 250,000, guys. Please.
And we'll have to pay taxes on that too, Kyle. I hate to break that to you.
Oh boy.
All right, guys. That's our showdown lineup. Don't dupe us. We got the 5-1. Rodgers and the boys versus the King, Henry. Kyle, tell the people what you got coming down the pipe and what content they can look forward to you week after week.
Within about an hour, I will be live on the NBC. It'll be live on the Twitch channel, but if you want to watch it back, it'll be on YouTube and the podcast feed within a few hours overnight type of thing with the game-by-game preview, more of a fantasy lens, but I still do my best to slip in some DFS. Then next day, Friday, me and Pat Carrain, 1:00 live answering your DFS questions. So if you need more of that good stuff, come check me out there.
Oh, I love to troll that show. King Henry or Dontre Hilliard. What do you guys think? Start sit. All right, guys. Make sure to check out that content from Kyle. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. I'll probably be back for a chess stream tonight or tomorrow. That's it for DFS content for this week. Have a great day, guys. Peace.